He is 1 for 1. I want to from him. This is it.
I would say probably, which I think people have said for many years, compromise and communication are humongous. And my parents have told me that and pretty much beat that into me growing up. As a kid, you take it, you shrug your shoulders, and you go on. Oh my gosh, is it the truth? Communication and compromise, I think very differently than Josh, and Josh's brain works very differently than mine. And there are some times where we have to sit down and it's like, okay, what were you thinking in this situation, and how did we end up at this? Because this is what I was thinking, and what could we do differently to both end up, And
the what were you thinking? It's not a what were you thinking?
No, it's I need to know what was going on in your head. Yeah. And I think that's been if I had to say, Josh and I had a struggle over the last 9 months, even though it's not a huge struggle, it's been just mingling both of our lives together and trying to figure out what the other person is thinking without that person communicating it. And so I've had to open up a lot more and communicate in a non-dramatic way what it is that I need and want, and he's had to even open up and communicate because, he's, God love him, an only child. He hasn't had to express a lot of that, and so we have had to work on that expression.
I was single for many a moon before I met Jamie.
Yeah, so we are learning a lot and growing a lot on that, and so that's been huge. And patience, a lot of patience, which even with the dog, I'm learning Josh has way more than I do. But patience is a big thing, It's two people's complete lives coming into one. And
that's fantastic. Okay. Let me think of more. We're at 22 minutes, so the base is 20.
Okay.
So maybe just one more. So I'm gonna freestyle. Sorry, Kyle, it's not on the sheet. It's fine. You guys talked about being in a long distance relationship for a portion of time. If your love language is quality time, Jamie, I know this about you. Your love language is physical touch. How were you able to bridge those gaps and try and fill those needs as much as possible while still being apart from one another?
It was a struggle. I think I get to start with this one, honey. I think with Josh not having a extensive amount of relationships before me, he was still very much, in my opinion, in himself, and so there was a lot of dragging I had to do. A lot of phone calls ended in tears and frustration on my end, and on his end, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. And then his mom would have to kind of be the go-between with us on, Josh, this is what you need to do. Jamie, you need to lighten up a little bit. We spent the majority of our dating relationship apart. I think if we combined all the amount of time we actually spent together in our year of dating, it equated in the same city, it equated to about 3 months worth of actually together with each other out of a year of dating. So we had a lot to learn when we finally started living together in the same house under the same roof after getting married. But the long distance thing, I think, made us stronger because it made us realize how much more communication is. And again, thinking about the other person's feelings. I think Josh grew a lot in that time frame of thinking about my feelings as a girl, not just a petty girl who wants to be on the phone with me all the time, but a girl who has, her love language is physical touch. We can't do that. Your love language is quality time. So we spent many hours where he would be playing his video games here in Texas and I'd be reading a book on the other side, and we would both be perfectly satisfied with that. He'd laugh and giggle. I'd say, what was funny. He'd explain it to me. I'd laugh at something in my book. I'd explain it to him. And it was just, we were that teenage couple literally listening to each other breathe on the other side, doing our own things. But I think that helped us a lot in the, hey, it's okay that we do this. Other people can be like, oh my gosh, what do you guys talk about this whole time? Well, we don't. We're doing our own thing, but we're spending that time together and even to this day, we sit on the couch, he plays his video game, and I read my book.
Yeah, being on the phone kind of bridges the distance, even though we're not in the same room together. We can still instantly communicate. I remember there was a struggle there for one day where we were trying to figure out why we couldn't watch the same TV show at the same time.
It was so frustrating.
And we finally figured out that we get the East Coast feed Central Time, and she gets the Pacific feed, so we'd always be an hour ahead of her no matter what.
Yep.
And then also with a time zone, we'd be 2 hours ahead. So really, it's 3 hours ahead. I'm getting television shows 3 hours before she would.
That was a big struggle. So, you know, we would watch shows on Netflix and talk about it. You know, you do the generic talk about your day, but that only gets you 5 minutes worth of time. I think our end result compromise was I asked for a date night, because if we were together in the same city, we would have had a date night or a few date nights in the week. I think I finally asked, you know, a date night, and so I think it was his on-call shift night where he said, okay, at this time I will call you, which was a 2-hour difference between us. It would be more like his going to bed time and me just getting settled in. And we would sit on the phone probably for 30 to 45 minutes, and that was our date night of, okay, we're going to talk, you know, how's the week going, how's everything going. It's not our date night of sitting there listening to each other breathe and do their own thing, you know. So once we got that situated, which I think was about 2 months into him living here, there was a 2-month struggle of him living here before we got that situated. It was pretty much breezy since then.
I think a lot of the things that we have done and have compromised on have always been because we've struggled through something for like weeks and haven't really known how to like figure this out. And then all of a sudden we're just like, here's what the problem is. It's like, all right, well, here's what the problem is, here's where we want to be, let's figure this part out. And we just kind of like come up and troubleshoot that for about 20-30 minutes, and then it's like, all right, that's what we want to do, yes, good, let's do that. And then we just kind of like move forward together. But generally it takes a week or two of like missing the target for Jamie to like formulate the words of exactly why she's not stoked with the situation. And then we kind of troubleshoot it together of like, all right, how can we get you stoked about the situation and change the situation so that it better matches what we're looking for.
And let's be honest, usually when I finally express it, I'm PMSing and pissed by that point. So it doesn't come out in the most loving manner, but he hacks it, he listens, and we work through it. So that would be... Thank goodness we don't have to do long distance anymore. It can work. I believe it can work, but it does take a lot of work.
I mean, I'm glad long distance is over too, so I could, you know, do this interview / talk to Jamie all the time.
She is a treat to talk to.
Oh, this was great. Let me check the time. I'm sure we got it.
28:45.
Oh, beautiful.
Nailed it.
Fantastic.